Okay, welcome everybody. This is our fourth webinar, October 6th. We're going to be going over 2 of our chapters, Deviance and Crime and Social Stratification. And I hope everybody is doing fine. How was the exam? Was it fine? Please let me know if you have any questions. Your second exam is going to be soon. Please check your syllabus. I'm going to be sending an announcement as well. After the second exam, I'm going to be posting your research paper, or maybe I might be doing it next week so that you're going to have more time about your research paper. Everybody is going to be responsible about writing your research paper. And I'll be uploading the rubrics and expectations on what to write, how to write. And you can always email me if you have any questions. And I hope every exam went well. You're going to have 2 more exams and you're going to have final. And when you look at your grade book, please do not misunderstand, because if you haven't done anything, it looks like you got 100, because if you have done one of them, because it doesn't show the ones that you're missing as 0. Please make sure that you so what shows on your grade book doesn't really show your real grades. I'm going to be trying to adjust it, but it's not really allowing me to manually enter your grades. Okay, so please make sure you post your answers for all of the discussion questions, because I don't see that much. The first couple of discussion questions were answered by majority of you, but later on the number is so much really reduced. Please make sure you're answering the discussion questions every week. And if you don't attend a webinar, make sure you submit your synopsis by the next week of the webinar. And you need to take the exam, of course. The deadline, I was expecting for the discussions the 1 week after I post the discussions, but at this time I'm going to be accepting it anytime. Please make sure until the exam 2, please make sure you post your discussion questions answers for the ones that you missed already. So until the second exam, please make sure you post all of your discussion question answers, okay? And they're all there, and there's not any restrictions. I'm hoping that you're going to be able to post your answers, and I'll be checking it. And also the Moodle also let me know that you're posting your answers. Okay, let me quickly review these 2 chapters if you don't have any other questions. So research paper, the more details about the research paper is going to be coming next week. And I'm going to be putting the due date and deadline as well for the research paper 2. And other than research paper, you're going to have 2 more exams and a final exam. And you're going to have research paper and your discussion questions. And if you don't attend the webinar, you have to submit your webinar synopsises, okay? And if you have any questions, you can always feel free to ask me. You can always feel free to answer me as well. So we'll be talking about chapter 7. Chapter 6, it's on the new edition, it's chapter 7. Deviance and crime. Please watch the videos. They are really helpful for you to understand what's going on. What is a deviance for you to know? Deviance is a very important topic in the field of sociology. And there are really just 1 courses specifically about the deviance. There are a lot of dissertations and researches has been done about the deviance too. So it's a very important term. It's a very important subject in sociology. So what does deviance mean? Deviance is any behavior, a belief, or condition that violates significant social norms in the society or group in which it occurs. So it's not only using a drug or being a gang member is the examples of deviance. So any sorts of behavior which is breaking or violating the significant social norms is going to be considered as a deviant behavior. I see some. 35 minutes should be enough. So was it really a big deal? Okay, I'll think about it. I'll consider extending the time for 25 questions and I'll get back to y'all, okay? So deviance is a formal property of social situations and social structure. All right, I'll think about it. I'll look into those questions and I'll think about the extending the time for the second and third exam, okay? So let's move on in the deviance. Deviance is a property conferred by audiences, and deviance is relative and it varies in its degree of seriousness, okay? So there is not really one type of deviant behavior. It's a relative, and also it's relative from culture to culture. Some behaviors may not be deviant, may not be considered deviant in one culture, and it could be considered deviant in another culture. So it is very relative and it varies in its degree of seriousness, and also it also varies in the from time to time, from culture to culture. So when we talk about the deviance, because it's really like it is mainly what is it? It's violating the social norms. So we need to know what the social norms mean. We talked about it previously, what the social norms and the differences between it, and what kind of consequences were given to for those who are violating the social norms. So we're also going to be talking about under the deviance as well. Social norms or mores, we talked about mores too. Social norms or mores are the rules of behavior that are considered acceptable in a group of society. People who do not follow these norms may be shunned or suffer from some kind of consequences. They can be either isolated from society or they can be really having more formal consequences. Norms change according to the environment or situation and may change or modify over the time as well. It also depends on the needs of the society and the views of the society too. Some forms of deviant behavior are officially defined as a crime, right? Because it might be really violating the other people's rights. Then it's going to be really defined as a crime. So what do we mean with a crime? Crime is behavior that violates criminal law and is punishable with fines, jail terms, or other sanctions. All societies have norms that govern acceptable behavior and mechanisms of social control. Social control is important for you to know. It's a systematic practices developed by social groups to encourage conformity and to discourage deviance. So we have it because we just want to make sure that we have the norms, we have the rules, we have the social control in order to make sure that we continue, we sustain the conformity, and at the same time we discourage people to be part of, to have some sort of deviant behavior. Social control is a concept that refers to the ways in which people's thoughts, feelings, and appearance and behavior are regulated in social systems. One way this is done is through coercion from imprisoning those who commit a crime to physicians administering drugs that make difficult patients more manageable. Social control, on the other hand, is mainly done through socialization, in which people come to identify with a social system and its values and norms, thereby acquiring a stake in maintaining these values and norms. Criminology, criminal justice and criminology, it's one of the highly sought field, and we can see that a lot of universities have criminal justice. Criminology is a systematic study of crime and the criminal justice system, including police, courts, and prisons. And sociology has a really important part in it, because sociology is the one that why the groups really committing some kind of crimes. So what some of our theorists are thinking about these, so it's important for us to know. We talked about them really like briefly in the beginning under the theories. So what are these theories are thinking about these deviances and deviant behaviors? Functionalists, are the one of the most pioneer functionalist theories is Emil Durkheim. He regarded deviance as a natural and inevitable part of all societies. All societies are going to have some sort of deviant behaviors. Deviance is universal because it serves three important functions. What are those functions? Deviance clarifies the roles. Then with the deviance, we are going to know who are the good ones and who are the ones who are not really following the what's supposed to be good. Deviance unites the groups, So when we know that there's a deviant behavior, if you're not really doing those deviant behaviors, it makes you a group of people. So it unites the people. And deviance promotes social change. Because with the deviant behavior and the societies are deciding some sort of like deciding for or making some sort of changes. So he thinks that deviance has three functions. That's why they are called functionalist theories, because they all believe that all of these terms, all of these concepts have a function in the society. Functionalist approaches to deviance and social control. Sorry, I went too fast. Everyone may be tempted to be deviant at times. You know, it could be a small kind of deviant behavior, or maybe might be considered more serious kind of behavior. Anticipation of consequences may stop us. Mechanisms of control. So what kind of mechanisms of control we have that it also stops us to do any sorts of deviant behavior? One of them is attachment to people or institutions. So we have families, we have parents, right? We just don't want to disappoint them. That's why our attachments stops us to do any kind of deviant behavior. Opportunities to achieve goals legitimately, especially, for example, think about it. You just don't want to. So you might have a credit card. So you have times you need to pay your credit card balances. If you then don't pay your credit card balances, what happens? Your credit score goes all the way down, right? So when you have bad credit score, what happens? There are some consequences for it. So you cannot buy a house, you cannot buy a car. So in order to achieve these goals, so you might have a goal to buy a house, or you may have a goal to buy a car. In order to achieve these goals, you need to make sure that you are really following the proper way. So you just don't want to miss those opportunities. Involvement in activities and being busy. In order to be involved a certain group of people or in activities, so you have to be really like going with the social norms. And the belief. Most of the belief systems are really discouraging to be deviant behaviors. People may deviate because there is nothing to stop them. So we're going to be talking about more about those people too. Why people are really choosing to deviant behavior. How about strain theory? According to strain theory, people feel strain when they are exposed to cultural goals that they are unable to obtain because they do not have access to culturally approved means of achieving these goals. What can be those? They can be money, they can be the studies. So if the people think that we don't have those means anyway, so why am I going to be really going with the social norms? Because even if I'm going to be a good person in the society, I'm not going to be able to be successful. So why would I go with this? So they might be really choosing the different ways in order to be successful or in order to be more powerful. Robert Merton came up with a strain theory which says that deviance is more likely to occur when a gap exists between cultural goals and the ability to achieve those goals by legitimate means like hard work and education. There are 4 types of deviation involved with the strain theory. So what are they? Robert Merton identified 5 ways in which people adapt to cultural goals and approved ways of achieving them. What are they? Conformity, innovation, ritualism, retreatism, and rebellion. Conformists are people, so we're going to be more elaborating those terms. So what are the conformists? Conformists are people who accept both cultural goals, such as making lots of money, and the traditional means of achieving those goals, including hard work. Conformists are the only ones among Merton's types who would not be considered deviant. Okay, so you can watch this video. How about innovation? Innovators accept the same cultural goals the conformists do, but they reject the conventional means of achieving them. So they know that, okay, there are cultural goals. We all accept that these are the goals, but they reject the conventional means to achieve them. Innovators are deviants. These are important because I might ask some questions about those as well. Innovators are deviants in that they choose non-conventional routes to success, such as who can be like thieves, robbers, right? Robberies or drug dealers can be an example for this. They know that, okay, What are the cultural goals? To be rich or to have a lot of money. So in order to have a lot of money, what you need to do? You need to go to good schools. You need to have really good grades. You need to maintain your good grades. You need to work hard in order to really to make some sufficient amount of money for you to sustain your life. So they all believe that yes, this is it. But how to achieve these goals? They choose different ways. So these are called innovator people. Bernie Madoff would be one example, though an extreme one. He was highly successful as financier before he turned to illegal activities, through which he bilked his clients out of $65 billion. Other innovators choose legal routes to success. An example is Shaun White, who helped to create and competed in the new extreme and highly dangerous sport of snowboarding. It has become a lucrative and perfectly legal career for him and others. So it doesn't have to be really like it doesn't have to be really like committing sort of crimes, but it's just like finding the different way of achieving those goals. So these are the innovators. How about ritualism? Ritualists realize that they will not be able to achieve cultural goals, but they nonetheless continue to engage in the conventional behavior associated with such success. Thus, a low-level employee might continue to work diligently even after realizing that such work is not going to lead to much economic success. Merton saw such diligent work with non-realizable goal as a form of deviance. He thinks that, okay, I know I'm not going to be able to really be successful or rich, or I'm not going to have really a lot of money, but still I'm just going to be working like on this pace, and I'm going to be continuing like that. So according to Merton, this is a deviant behavior because they are not really, they just like choose wherever they are. How about retreatism? So retreatists reject both cultural goals and the traditional routes to their attainment. Retreatists have completely given up on attaining success within the system. One example can be Theodore Kaczynski, who gained notoriety as the Unabomber. At the time of his arrest in 1996, he had been living for some 20 years in a cabin in a remote area of Montana without water or electricity, using a bicycle as his only means of transportation. There are some examples, there are more examples like these. So these can be considered as retreatists. To demonstrate his anger at modern society's industrial technological system, he had been mailed off more than a dozen bombs, which killed 3 people and injured 23 others. After a long and complicated trial, he was sentenced to life in prison. So his case may be many interesting aspects, including the fact that he used the US mail, part of the system he despised, to deliver his bombs and thereby his anti-establishment message, right? He is really like rejecting system, but he is also using those systems in order to in order to be able to convey his idea. How about rebellions? Rebels, this is when people reject both success and approve the means for doing so. At the same time, they substitute a new set of goals and means. So KKK can be a good example for it. How about opportunity theory? According to the Richard Clover and Lloyd Olin, for deviance to occur, people must have access to illegitimate opportunity to structures, circumstances that provide an opportunity for people to acquire through illegitimate activities what they cannot achieve through legitimate channels. How about control theory? What do the control theory are thinking about it? According to the control theory created by Travis Hershey, conformity to social norms depends on the bond between the individual and the society. This is very important, right? If there is a really connection or attachment between the individual and the society, people are becoming more conformist. But if there is not real if those ties are weak, then the people are more likely are going to be committing some deviant behaviors. We conform because we don't want to disappoint family members, friends, or our society, etc. The differential association theory, on the other hand, says that the more we're exposed to people who break the law, the more apt we are to breaking the law ourselves. So there are a lot of researches about it. If you're living in a society, in a kind of neighborhood, and then if the kids see a lot of crimes are happening. So what they see that they normalize what they see, or if they have relatives who are really committing crimes and nobody is really discouraging these kids about those behaviors, it's more likely that those kids are going to be doing those behaviors because they are not taught that those behaviors are not acceptable by the society. Labeling theory says that two people who break the same norm may be labeled differently. We remember this, right? It depends on the gender, it depends on the social status. For example, a male having multiple sex partners compared to a female having multiple sex partners. So they're not going to be really labeled the same way by the society. Symbolic interactionist perspectives on deviance. Differential association theory states that the individuals have a greater tendency to deviate from societal norms when they frequently associated with those who are more favorably inclined towards deviance and conformity, especially like certain group of ethnic group people. If they are so much associated with certain kinds of deviant behavior, then it's more likely that the people are growing, or the kids growing in those ethnic groups are more likely they're going to be committing those deviant behaviors as well. Criminologist Ronald Akers has combined differential association theory with elements of psychological learning theory to create differential reinforcement theory. Deviant behavior and conventional behavior are learned through the same social process. So the same process is teaching us either being a good or either being a really deviant. Social bond theory holds that probability of deviant behavior increases when a person's ties to society are weakened or broken. We talked about it already. Social bonding consists of attachments to the other people, commitment to conformity, involvement in conventional activities, belief in legitimacy of conventional values and norms. Labeling theory states that deviants are those people who have been successfully labeled as such by others. Primary deviance is the initial act of rule breaking. Secondary deviance occurs when a person who has been labeled as a deviant and they already accepted, yeah, this is my new identity, so I'm going to be like this from now on. Tertiary deviance occurs when a person has been labeled a deviant seeks to normalize the behavior by relabeling it as non-deviant. That's more horrible, because we know that this is a deviant behavior, but those people are saying that, no, this is not deviant behavior, this is normal. That's how I am, that's who I am. So you just need to accept me like that, and you just need to take it. According to the conflict theories, conflict theory and how Marx is he is the founder of conflict theory. People in position of power maintain their advantage by using laws to protect their own interests. According to the critical approach, the ways laws are made and enforced benefits the capitalist class by ensuring that individuals at the bottom of the social class structure do not infringe on the property or threaten the safety of those at the top. How are postmodernist expressions on deviance? According to the postmoderns such as Foucault, the intertwining nature of power, knowledge, and social control is the nexus in which deviance and crime are defined. He always talks about this, so he thinks that nature of power, knowledge, and social control is the nexus in which deviance and crime are defined. In explaining prisons, he has a book on that, Foucault uses the concept of panopticon, a structure that his prison officials the possibility of complete observation over criminals at all times to demonstrate social control. Here is the panopticon, okay? This is how the prisons are like, and this is a panopticon. So that this is a social control, right? They can control all of these cells in the prison. So this is a good summary for you. All you can look at it, how those theories are looking at deviance and what they are thinking about, why the deviance is happening, and what the theories are thinking about it. Crime classifications and statistics. Crimes are divided into felonies and misdemeanors based on the seriousness of the crime. Sociologists categorize crimes based on how they are committed and how society views the offenses. Conventional or street crime is all violent crime, certain property crimes, and certain moral crimes. Occupational or white-collar crime are illegal activities committed by people in the course of their employment or financial affairs. Corporate crimes is an illegal act committed by corporate employees on behalf of the corporation and with its support. Organized crime is a business operation that supplies illegal goods and services for profit. Political crime refers to illegal or unethical acts involving the usurpation of power by the government officials, or illegal, unethical acts perpetrated against the government by outsiders seeking to make a political statement, or attempting to undermine or overthrow the government. So these are called political crimes. Official crime statistics such as those found in the Uniform Crime Report provide important information on crime. However, the data reflect only those crimes have been reported to the police. So we know that there are a lot more deviances are happening, but just those data are what we can find as a data is just what is reported to the police. So they are not really so much a reflection of what's going on. Okay. Gender and crime. Three most common arrest categories for both men and women: driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, larceny, and minor criminal mischief types of offenses. So men and women usually like equally really committing these kinds of deviances. So we can see more what age and crime. Arrest rates for index crimes are highest for people between the age of 13 and 25, with the most 16 and 17. Rates of arrest are higher for males and females at every age and for heinous offenses. Individuals from all classes commit crime, and they simply commit different kinds of crimes. Persons from lower class are more likely to be arrested for violent and property crimes. Only a very small proportion of individuals who commit white-collar worker crimes will ever be arrested or convicted. Okay. And that's what convictor is always criticizing about. How about race and crime? In 2010, whites accounted for 64% of all arrests for index crimes. But there is a really different kinds of perception in the society. In 2010, whites considered about 66% of all arrests for property crimes and more than 59% of arrests for violent crimes. African Americans account for over 30% of arrests for violent crimes and 31% of arrests for property crimes. Arrest records tend to produce overgeneralization about who commits crime because arrest statistics are not an accurate reflection of the crimes actually committed in our society. Who are the crime victims? You know that men are more likely to be victimized by crime, although women tend to be more fearful of crime, especially those directed towards them, such as forcible rape. So we know that men are really more victimized, but women are more fearful about being the victim of any crime. The elderly also tend to be more fearful of crime, but are the least likely to be victimized. Why? Because they protect themselves more. Young men of color between the ages of 12 and 24 have the highest criminal victimization rate. The burden of robbery victimization falls more heavily on males than females, African Americans more than whites, young people more than middle-aged or older persons. The criminal justice system includes the police, the courts, and prisons. The system is a collection of bureaucracies. There's such a strict bureaucracy going on in the criminal justice system. The police are responsible for crime control and maintenance of order. The courts determine the guilt or innocence of those accused of committing a crime. So there is a punishment system. It depends on the crime. Disparate treatment of the poor, people of color, and women is evident in the prison system, unfortunately. And the medicalization of deviance is the transformation of deviance into a medical problem that requires treatment by a physician. For many years, capital punishment or the death penalty has been used in the United States. About 4,000 executions have occurred in the US since 1930, and scholars document race and class biases in the imposition of death penalty in the country, unfortunately. And it's still happening. Okay, what to do about crime? Although many people in the United States agree that crime is one of the most important problems in the country, they are divided about what to do in order to stop it. The best approach for reducing the delinquency and crime is prevention. Work with people before they become juvenile offenders so as to help them establish family relationship of self-esteem, choose a career, and get an education which will help them pursue a career, right? Because then they're going to have more attachment with the society, so they're going to be more worrying about their success. Maybe they're going to be less likely committing crime. As long as racism, sexism, the class system, and ageism exist in our society, people will see deviant and criminal behavior through selective lenses. How about global crime? Global networking of powerful criminal organizations and their associates and shared activities around the world is a relatively new phenomena. It was happening, but it's really like new phenomena because each country has their own way of criminal justice system. So there's not really like less likely have less likely control over the global issues. Networking and strategic alliances between criminal networks have been key factors in successive criminal organizations that have sought to expand the criminal activities over the past 2 decades. Recent studies have concluded that reducing global crime will require a global response, including the cooperation of law enforcement agencies, prosecutors, and intelligence services across the geopolitical boundaries. How about we also have positive deviance, which is an approach to behavioral and social change based on the observation that in any community there are people whose uncommon but successful behaviors or strategies enable them to find better solutions to a problem than their peers, despite facing similar challenges and having no extra resources or knowledge than their peers. And these people are really considered as positive deviance. Please watch these, and some of them are kind of a little long, but deviance is a very important topic in the sociology in our class as well. I really want you to know about all these terms, definitions, and how the theorists are looking at the deviance, why it's happening, how to stop it, all the criminal justice systems, what is a crime, what is a criminal justice system, what is social norm, what is a moray, what is a social control. These are really important, and I really want you to know all these terms as well. And our second topic that we were going to be talking about today, social certification. Let me find it out. Do you have any questions so far? So I'm going to be quickly going over the social certification in the United States and global certification, which is also an important topic, but it's not going to be as detailed as deviant. Okay, which is chapter 7. All right, I'll just go into it quickly. What is a social certification? It involves hierarchical differences associated with economic positions, social status, and political power. It has a very significant effect on how valuable resources are allocated in a society. And please remember those resources. What were they? Money, power, and status. Inequality refers to those societal positions that yield the greatest benefits. And Marx was so much talking about it as well. We know that societies vary in the extent to which social groups as well as individuals have unequal access to those advantages. We know these advantages: wealth, power, and prestige. So each individual and each social group has unequal access to those, which creates the social stratification in the societies. So what do we mean with economic resources? Things that have value in a culture, which could be not only money, but it can be land, tools, or other technology, goods, and money. Power, in order to make others to do what they want to do. And prestige, someone or some group is accorded particular respect or honor. So we have three types of societies: egalitarian, rank societies, and class societies. Egalitarian societies, there is not any social group, so everybody has equal access to those means. Rank, who do not have very unequal access, but they do not contain social groups with unequal access to prestige. And class societies have unequal access to all these advantages which what we are living in. And so we have more details about the egalitarian societies, and then I have some examples on the egalitarian societies. Please, we still have them, but especially like more small tribes in Africa are really living with egalitarian societies. If you have watched the movie Gods Must Be Crazy, it's a tribe that they are really like running their tribe as an egalitarian society. Rank societies also they have unequal access to prestige, but not wealth or power. So the only prestige has an unequal access, but the rest they all have an equal access to it. And again, some of the native groups in Oceania or Native Americans of Northwest can be a good example for rank society. On the other hand, class societies are, open class systems. Open class systems, which means people can really move from one level to another level, one group to another group, or recognition of class, caste system, and slavery. Class societies are inequality in power, wealth, and prestige. And we know that we have different levels of groups. In the United States, the gap between those in the bottom and the top has really like became more widened. When we watch the movie, The Documentary Family, we are going to see this, especially this, how this gap is getting bigger. We are going to see it with the real examples. And please answer this question, okay? And we have the I have the chart about how the inequalities between the groups of the people by country. Norway has the least gap, and Haiti has the biggest gap. And if you see, United States is in between. That's kind of like in the middle in the world. There are three dimensions of social stratification: class, status, and power. Social class, we mean that economic position in the stratification system based on income. One's social class position strongly determines and reflects one's income and wealth. Status relates to the prestige attached to one's position in the society. Power is the ability to get others to do what you want them to do. Economic inequality, in the United States, the stratification is based on money. In a social structure where money is defined as valuable and desirable, the occupational structure is characterized by a payment system in which those in higher level positions are rewarded with higher pay. Economic inequality, we have income and wealth. What is the difference between income and wealth? Income means the amount of money a person earns. It's usually measured year to year. On the other hand, wealth is the total amount of person's financial assets, less total liabilities, which means the person's that person owns, land, house, properties. All of them are going to be considered under the wealth. On the other hand, income is different. So there's a really big income inequality in the United States. So I have all these facts in the United States. So based on the time, please watch those videos because they are going to be giving really good information to you. And how wealth is very important. And in wealth, an upper class position is passed from one generation to another generation. You cannot really pass the income, but you can pass the wealth, which makes wealth more self-perpetuating. A lack of wealth is also self-perpetuating because there is nothing to pass on to your next generation, right? Poverty is a great concern to sociologists and to society in general due to many problems associated with it. And the great disparity between the rich and the poor is considered by many to be a moral problem for a society as a whole. The sociological perspective is that larger social forces create and perpetuate poverty for three basic reasons. Poverty is already built in the capitalist system. Competition between social classes encourages those with power to enhance their position by limiting others' access to opportunities and resources and rewards, right? Because if one person is making more money, which means the other person is not really making that much money, so it's really taking from his or her opportunity from in order the other one can gain more. Government actions to reduce or ameliorate poverty are generally limited both by policy and by American ideology. Hard work is equal to success and riches. Poverty line households who fall below a specific threshold are considered to be in poverty. And in 2012, these are some of the information about what is the poverty line. It also depends on the how big is the household and how much money is really coming to that household in a year, right? And this is also breakdowns based on the ethnicity. How about feminization of poverty, which is a very important term, and it is really gaining more importance. It means those living in poverty are increasingly more likely to be women than men. Why? Because women, especially women, are more likely to live alone. Women have lower average earning than men, and more children are being born to unmarried women. Most of the time, women are the ones who take the burden of their children if they are single moms, so which makes this feminization of poverty more widespread. How about social mobility? It refers to the ability or inability for society's members to change their position or in the hierarchy. And in these class societies, upward mobility and downward mobility are possible. What do we mean with upward mobility? It is the ability to move higher in the system and is the route out of the poverty. So you can go to another class. On the other hand, you can go down to another class too. Downward mobility, which means descends to lower levels within a social class or to lower classes. We also have types of social mobilities: intergenerational, intragenerational, occupational, and structural. What do we mean with achievement and ascription? Positions based on achievement are the accomplishments and/or merit of the individual are characteristics of open certification system. So you get your position based on your own success. Positions based on ascriptions, it's you are born in that group, and then you're not going to be able to go down, or because you're already on that society, you're not allowed to go higher or down lower. So you're just going to stay in there. So even if you have hard work, you cannot go to upper level class. Caste and slavery. What do we mean with the caste system? It is the most rigid and closed certification system. It is associated with ascription, where individual mobility is severely restricted, and there is very little possibility for changing status of the group as a whole. Slavery is a system also associated with ascription. People are really like destined to the poverty. So I have explanations of what is a caste system and some examples of it, and also slavery. Please read those. I'm just going to be going them quickly. How about theories of social certification? Structural, functional. They all believe that, how Emil Durkheim were thinking about it, everything has a function. So they think that all societies should be stratified. Certain positions require more education than the other ones, so each each level needs people. So we need those. Theories of social stratification, conflict theories, they argue that stratified social structures promote inequality, of course, because some groups, some kinds of positions make more money than the other ones, so there's going to be an unequal balance. They focus on the control that those in the upper levels exercise over culture and how the deployment of cultural ideals serve to perpetuate an unequal system. Question whether higher level positions are less pleasant than the lower level positions. And they accept that some positions require more education than the other one, but they argue that some lower level positions are more important than some higher level positions. Also, feminists are under the conflict theory. They focus on gender as a determinant of social stratification. Critical theories of race argue that race is a determinant of some of the positions in the social stratification system. Interactions theories, they believe that Stratification involves interaction between people who occupy different positions. People struggle over things that are symbolically important at various positions in the stratification system. So stratification is a fluid process. So focus on the struggle over symbols of success and status. Different positions in the stratification system involve differences in consumption, of course, right? The nature of consumption itself forms the stratification system. Each position or in the stratification system, each level has different kinds of consumptions, and there are also a lot of theories about it as well. Stratified consumption, what do we mean with it? These are really important terms. Stratified consumption means those in higher level of stratification systems seek to distinguish their consumption from those below them. Conspicuous consumption, people wanting others to see what they consume, which communicates an elite status. Social class distinction and taste, elites seeks to distinguish themselves from others by their good taste. They say we have better taste. So, how about globalization? We have the distinction global north and global south. Global north are the northern hemisphere. Nations are the wealthiest and more powerful, and they dominate, control, and oppress the nations in the global south, which is southern hemisphere. The bottom million, which we have a group of people, have incomes of only about 1/5 of those in other developing countries. Low life expectancy, high infant mortality rate, and they have high malnutrition. So that's a really big number of people who are really in trouble and having a lot of problems. The race to the bottom. Those near the bottom of the global system must offer lower prices than the competition, which are gained by reducing costs, which negatively impact their own workers. And then please watch these videos. They are going to be explaining more about how the globalization and social stratification is associated with each other. And let me know if you have any questions. These two chapters are really important, and they have really important terms in it. And I'm going to be checking those exam time. And if you have any questions, I'll let you know. Which chapters? I need to check the syllabus. It's going to be from the what we left from the first exam until the second exam. It should be 3 or 4 chapters in the exam. Okay, I need to check and I'll get back to you all. Okay, so I'm going to be checking 2 things. One is exam time, and the other one's how many chapters. When I'm announcing the chapter, also the exams, I'm going to be letting you know that which chapters will be in the exam as well. Please look at the syllabus and exam 2 date, and also let me know if you have any questions. Okay, and I'll also upload the research paper, more details about the research paper. Do you guys have any questions? All right. Thanks for participating. So I see 13 attendees. So you guys, 13 of you, you don't need to submit any synopsis. Thanks for participating to the webinar, and have a great evening and a weekend. Bye.